Descent into Darkness, a Call of Cthulhu campaign.
Hello and welcome back to Deathwatch's Call of Cthulhu campaign, Descent into Darkness, Season 4. This is episode 15, and I am Keeper Travis. And today we return to the Arab Peninsula, where real men get circumcised when they're 12. Before we get back to that, let's get an introduction from our investigators.
I'm Brandon. I'll be playing Bartholomew Wentworth. And that's the sound of my ancient people in the background.
I'm Chris. I'm playing Charles Stanton, the guide to this expedition who's failing lately.
And I'm John playing, I think you know who I'm playing already, right? Well, if not,
Thompson.
it's Joseph Thompson. And
Joseph Thompson.
I'm going to get circumcised again.
Yeah, you can do it multiple times. Yeah.
All right. So we are most of the way through Saturday, March 5th. You guys are camped outside Marib. You had just returned from the Awam Temple, an ancient Sabaean culture place, with some Bedouin from the Rashid tribe. And you've all been mingling and trading for a while now. Okay, Mr. Thompson, I will remind you, we missed a few days, so we weren't able to do it day by day, but you believe you have finished learning the spell Armor of the Will. And I'll also remind you that today is Saturday, or the day of Kronos, as is spoken in the Liber Ivanis, if that means anything to you.
Can't remember when it said their week started. It was it only went for a day. That's right.
Yeah, the spell length lasted until sundown. You had some confusion over what precisely they meant sundown. Is it when it's going down or after it's gone down? Or so you don't know the precise minute that the spell will leave. But the day of Kronos was spoken about as being a particularly powerful day on which to cast these spells. So I'm just leaving you the opportunity if you want to try it today.
I got a hard success on my circumcision skill, so let's cast this spell.
Well, right now you're amongst all the encampment and these Bedu who are trading, so you're in the middle of trading, unless you want to do it right then. It does involve 5 rounds of chanting.
Which one?
And you are the
circumcision or the spell casting?
Circumcision probably be done in 5 rounds.
I ain't got nothing to trade.
Okay.
Nothing that I want to trade, at least, because I don't think I brought anything.
So you want to sneak off somewhere?
Yeah.
Quiet place.
And then I'll cast
as I said, there's
spell.
a rudimentary reservoir, and herdsmen amongst the Yemeni group that you picked up have left to take the camels down there to water, and they've been ordered by Stanton to find some grazing land for them. So there is maybe enough privacy dependent on a luck roll.
So
there are figures in the distance, right? You don't know if they would be in earshot or if they'd be able to really make out what you're doing. So there's just a small amount of risk, but it's not like somebody will come out and clap handcuffs on you and you'd be like, no casting mythos spells here.
Yeah.
It'll just go into your reputation as I said, being the one who went up and looked at the alabaster figure of Lilith,
Oh, he's possessed.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's just something to consider. So you see a Yemeni herdsman standing in the far distance with his camel stick, moving camels about as they graze across this salt brush on the flat there. So do you want to attempt it? Or you could wait for nightfall, perhaps. An even better time to be out chanting.
Well, how far past sunset is it right now?
It's not past sunset.
Oh,
it's
all right.
probably, we'll say, 6:30 p.m.
Yeah,
so
I've got to wait until after.
But you would lose whatever bonus Ibon spoke about would occur on Saturdays if you wait. That's the only thing about today on the timing.
All right, I'll give it a shot. As we'll, even if it wastes it for now, I'll still at least see what all the Saturday craze is about.
Okay, so normally when casting a spell for the first time, you need to succeed at a hard power roll, but because it is the day of Kronos, you only have to succeed at a regular power roll.
Success.
Well done. How much magic points did you want to... I should ask you that first. You want to pour into this one?
We'll put, since it's a test run and I know it'll probably waste, I'll just put 2.
Okay. So I believe that gives you... you have the
Go
spell
down
there,
to
right?
14.
Is it a D6 for every magic point invested?
Yes.
All right, so you can roll those out.
3.
Okay. And make a note that they kind of work like, I suppose, like temporary hit point pool would in D&T, where it's used up first, right? Yeah. So you got 3 extra hit points. All right. So also, casting spells costs you sanity. It's a D4. If you want to roll that out for me. Where do you...
Because it was almost a 12d4.
So yeah, you get a sense you're doing this chanting, and part of it to do it effectively is to kind of suspend your disbelief, so you have to kind of go along with it, which is counter to your current thinking on all of this stuff. And so the sanity loss comes from this small percent acceptance of your mind of that these things actually work. Now, as to whether or not the effect is there, it's very difficult to tell, but you do get a sense that...
No, I'm going to take my knife out and try and cut my arm.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, roll the knife damage. Well, no, you can do... How much damage do you want to apply? Like, you could do, like, start at the 1? How about we do that?
Yeah.
Like, so say you're just going to do 1 damage.
Yeah, just like a quick poke with the tip and then kind of a superficial slice, we'll call it that.
Yeah, it stops there. It makes your flesh dimple in, but it will not cut it when you think you've applied enough pressure to either pierce it with the tip of the knife or gash it open.
Now I've got to grab
those.
one of these commoners and test the edge of my blade. Well, no, I mean,
So
I know how sharp my blade is, so I'll deem it a success.
Yeah, so then that's also the cause. You know that it works. So what does this mean? And since it's only a point loss, basically you decide to answer that question at a later day. You're like, well, there must be some explanation for this, right?
This unlocks my belief.
Psychosomatic, something like that, right?
Unlocks the belief in the mythos in which all of the sanity loss that I've avoided since starting this character comes crashing.
Right.
Well, that's the ultimate goal.
No, I mean it's one of those where it's like it really makes me reconsider. Maybe it wasn't the German or the guy from Idaho that pushed me out the window, but I mean, in the back of my mind, it was really one of them.
Yeah, makes sense.
Like, this doesn't really prove much other than, charlatans' tricks. And even a clock is right twice a day.
Yes, that's true.
Or a broken clock, that's the one. The broken clock is right twice a day. I should have thought about that.
So back in the encampment, Mr. Wentworth and Mr. Stanton, you're sort of sitting apart with this Amir, watching both everybody there, keeping an eye to make sure that there's no, cultural differences that come up amongst the trading.
Especially
I do still have
insanity.
2 points. I could try my circumcision trick.
We'll leave it for an in-between session thing. But Nigel Stedford is there also, and he's kind of giving, in English, the two of you his sort of crash course on the Bedu, some of which you've already heard before. But he congratulates you, Mr. Wentworth, saying that it's good that you invited them to trade. I am no expert on the Bedu by any means, but I was held for ransom for several weeks and learned something of their ways. They have an honor system, Sharif. That's the code amongst the men. It can be gained or lost You constantly must strive to keep it intact. It's broken down into different components. There's the Maruwa, which is courage in battle, self-sufficiency, and commitment to the tribe. There's Hamasa, patience and endurance in suffering. And then there's Dayafa, which requires that even an enemy be given shelter and food for some days they come to the tents peacefully. So that's a good sign on your part. Poverty's no exemption from that obligation. Gifts must be offered and cannot be declined. And he talks a little bit about how they have sort of a similar thing for the women, although unlike the men, their honors intact from like birth, and they can be reduced by transgression, right? Whereas men have to they have 0 and they get points.
Yeah, they got to earn it.
Yeah. And so one of the first things is with that circumcision, that's like, you're a man now, here's going to be a painful thing. You have to endure it, right? That's part of the deal. Anyhow, Nigel says, it's a pity we have no animal to slaughter and feast on. I'm sure it would go a long way to relations.
Yeah, that's a good point. Where's that camel?
I thought we planned on slaughtering the
You were
camel.
going to see how it did, but that was like one of the options, I think, I heard.
That's as good a use for it as any. So Stanton's here with us?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll look over at Stanton and say, let's just slaughter that camel that got snake bit and share it with him.
When it was my idea, it was fine.
Well, there's one problem I might present. Do not believe these Bedu will eat it if you're the one doing the slaughtering.
I'll ask Amir. I'll be in his language. Be like, we want to give you a meal.
Were we able to...
Do you guys eat camels?
Yes.
Were we able to find a replacement? Because it was going to be sick for some time.
Not yet. That's something that you're working on. You think you will be able to. You see lots of camels around the village. So, because you will, if you want your full complement of water, your 14 days, then, you'll need to find a replacement. But he says, yes, it is permitted, but we cannot eat an animal slaughtered by non-Muslim.
Aye. So will you do the honors then?
Yes, permit me. And he calls to some of his men to go about it. And there's some variance on how they might
I want to watch.
do that,
Yeah.
but it's not too different from how you might do
Okay.
it in the field. Like if you killed a deer or something when you're like a mule deer down in Mexico, you think it's more about the fact that
The hands
you're
are...
unclean,
right.
so
Yeah.
you make the animal unclean.
Yeah.
But yeah, they slaughter it and quarter it all up and portion it all up, and then fires get lit and cooking starts, right?
All right.
So Amir Hamadullah Rashid, he wishes to treat with you one last time, Mr. Wentworth.
Yeah, I want to treat with him one last time as well. I want to give him a parting gift of a knife.
That Jambaya,
No, just a knife.
just one of yours.
Yeah, not my main fighting knife, but a knife,
He says, thank you. God's fortune be upon you.
It's one of
1,000
those
thanks.
knives you'd buy at a mall.
I got it at a gun show table. It's got a dragon on and the blade's all curved 3 different ways. It's something you'd see in like
the blade
Vin Diesel movie.
is colored and it's got a tiger running along the length.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, it's probably in a sweet spot where the type of machining and stuff they could do in that day is actually better than like a crafted knife that they might make.
Yeah.
But it's not in the part where we're at now where there can be a lot of cheapness in the production, So, yeah, he does. He turns it over in his hands, looks at the edge, tests it, and all those sorts of things. And he thanks you again and tucks it into his cloak or his clothes. And he says, it is said amongst my people not to quarrel with the Christians, for there are priests and monks among you, and your God and our God are one.
Mm.
But we have also heard, through ancient stories, that Christians are bitter warriors who kill even the women and children in their vengeance. Our God has brought us together, Wentworth. We who are on the cusp of a blood debt, and you who are on your quest eastward. I should be remiss not to answer this invitation of fate. Please tell us more about your journey, and we might share our troubles with you.
Okay. So where are we, like at a fire eating food or?
Right, yeah. Or waiting for it to be prepared, So
Okay.
you might be drinking coffee and whatnot.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. All right. Okay. So that's what I'll do. I'll kind of sit close to him as you do when you're sharing a story. And hang on a second, let me.
That's the sound of the camel being slaughtered in the background.
Gotta spice the meat by.
He casts one spell and he becomes a mad wizard. Or maybe that's just what Joseph Thompson would have done anyways.
Okay. So, yeah, and then I'll tell him the story of what exactly it is I'm doing out here. I'm sent on a grand quest by my employer, searching for an ancient, mythical, probably never existed city full of the general things that those missing mythical cities are full of: treasure, danger.
I Ram of the Pillars.
Exactly. Yeah. You've heard of it?
Yes. It's in our holy books and stories.
So it was a real city then, do you believe?
Nobody knows. I know no Bedu who have seen it. There are those in my tribe from the Almura who are out east that way, who are driven westward by the infidels there, who know that desert, the area to which you speak, and they have never spoken of it. But I must warn you, if you go there, you likely go to your death. None but the Bedu can survive in that deep of desert. That's the sand sea.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like these lush lands here. He doesn't speak it as a joke, but
paradise.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it would only be a fool that would set out on an expedition such as this without full knowledge that they may not return.
Well, our own plight is not as hopeless as yours, but it still may end in all and my brother's deaths by the end of it. And at that point, we'll sort of pause. Thomas, you've walked in from your spell casting, and you're accosted, or Mr. Thompson, you're accosted by one of the Bedu who has scratched like a grid into the dirt, and there's stones here and there. And he's, you don't speak the language, but you get the impression from how he's pantomiming that he wants you to have a game with him. No, not really, but the gist is it's sort of like a checkers or chess game where you can, you have certain restrictions on how you can move across the grid with different stones. So you kind of have to learn it on the fly. But, he's like Kurat Kabia, and he says a bunch of Arab, but you've recognized this as now your nickname amongst them big balls.
Yeah.
He's like, he's gesturing, You hear a word that you think is probably like play or something like that because he repeats it quite often. Okay, so with a hard intelligence roll, we'll see how you do. So part of the problem is you're learning it as you go, and the movement ability of a stone is determined by what type of stone it is, and you pick that up in that game. But we'll jump back over to Mr. Wentworth and Mr. Stanton, who I suppose for your part, Mr. Stanton, unless Mr. Wentworth is taking the time to translate everything that's said, you're just basically stuck listening to them have a conversation in Arabic.
Yeah. I ain't no big. I figure as long as it doesn't seem to be getting heated, I don't got to really pay too much attention.
Right.
Part of my job description isn't
chatting.
Yeah, it isn't chatting or, like being pleasant. It's kind of just there to protect and guide. So I think I'm well within my paycheck.
Well, the conversation continues then, Mr. Wentworth, and Amir says, at the risk of an ungraceful quarrel, I would ask that you bitter Christian warriors aid me in my debt. Our enemy, which I have already described to you as your enemy, they hate infidels, outnumber us, but with your help, or will seek payment nonetheless, but with your help we might also have victory. In return, I and my Almura guest will see you into the empty quarter. We will teach you the ways of the desert. But I warn you, cousin, there's a saying amongst the Bedu that at the narrow passage there is no brother and friend. And narrow passage, like the way he says it, can mean, that's sort of like a direct translation, right? But it can also just mean like the hard place or like a difficult trial.
Tough,
right. Yeah.
And how would we help you in this blood feud?
Well, to be as the Christian warriors in the stories, to destroy your enemy utterly. They outnumber us 2-1. We've been trailing them for some days.
Where are they, do you think?
I think they headed east.
They're to the east.
That's why I told you to trace along the mountains, because if you'd kept on your current course, you probably would have came across them anyways.
Mhm.
Maybe solved my issue for me. Didn't seem appropriate that you walk into danger without being aware of it.
Well, thank you for that. Okay. Well, I'll have to talk this over with my guide and some other members of my expedition. Most of us came this way knowing that we might have to fight, but nobody came hoping to.
I understand.
And it's a hard thing to ask people to take up arms against an enemy that isn't theirs.
Well, he does kind of look puzzled at that, and he looks at like the men in the camp, and he's like, "Are you not all warriors here?"
A lot of them, yeah, but we follow the philosophy that it's better not to fight unless you absolutely have to. But then
Philosophy, I
if you
agree with.
do have to, make sure you never have to again. That might be the source of some of these stories you've heard about us.
Perhaps so. Well, yes, talk. We will, with your leave, be here a while longer yet.
Okay, I'll have the conversation and I'll let you know our decision.
All right, back over to Mr. Thompson. Let's see how your next game goes. Let's see what you... Oh,
I like how this is just kind of showcasing that once you're marked as a sucker, you're marked as a sucker in all cultures.
So yeah, he's beat you again, but he's encouraging you to continue to play, and he's obviously very happy here to be winning. But you hear in what sounds like an altercation, you hear the drunk voice of Mitchell Brown like rising, and when you turn to look, you can see that, well, he's standing before one of the Bedu. There's his flask is on the ground, and he's cussing him out, and that Bedu has a knife and appears to be cussing Mitchell Brown out. So, you're the closest one there. Mr. Stanton, since you're not really occupied in the discussion, you kind of see in the distance, some 20 yards away.
Eye for trouble.
Right, yeah. So, what do you do, Mr. Thompson?
Kill him.
What are you talking to me for? You tell him to put his knife away. I have a mind to slap him upside his head for having a knife on me like that. Okay.
I would have leaned over at some point and made Wentworth, aware that we might have a problem, just
Okay.
quietly. Nice.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't see it coming. Go ahead and throw an intimidate on there as well.
Should have made it an aggressive persuasion.
Let's do a bonus on that intimidating after the punch. At least they know you're not bluffing. Ooh, there you go. Well, at first he looked shocked and then hurt, and he's like rubbing his cheek, and he's like, "I thought you were a good guy, Mr. Thompson, but you're just like everybody else." It's like, "Fine, can I at least grab my flask?" It's like between him. Yeah, he does. He looks like he wants to say something, but he's wise enough to keep it to himself. And he goes, wandering back towards where you have like a canopy set up and things like that. But he's muttering to himself. You could give a listen roll.
I'm going to get my revenge when he goes to sleep.
Nice.
It's basically like they're going to be sorry for this, all kinds of ideas about what's going to happen as soon as he gets his chance.
Oh, who I am.
There's no way to treat an American. Offers his drink.
Everybody's going to pay.
Back where
I'll
I'm
take
from.
his flask and empty it for the show of the
Yeah.
Bedouin, right? And then I'll secure it in my inside pocket or so.
Yeah, well, he looks at you, this Bedu that was offended, some of the offense spared for you, but he can make out what has occurred, and so he, sheathes that knife at his belt and kind of goes to a more relaxed stance than the one that was about to potentially stab Mr. Brown. So well done, John.
Now's my
Defuse the
chance to
situation.
break his neck. Oh
Yeah.
no, I'll just return to my game.
So yeah, as the three of you gave Wentworth warning, and of course Amir stands up to look over the people to see what's going on. But by the time you can really take 2 steps toward it, Mr. Thompson seems to have taken care of it, at least for that moment. But,
Yeah, I wasn't even really getting up. I just,
Right.
kind of like a tap him on the arm and make sure he knows that something was going on. It seemed like it diffused itself. Besides, I would have just shot him from Here,
Elephant.
Which one, the Bedu or Mr. Brown, or both?
Both.
both.
Okay.
Well, if you got a problem, you solve it with bullets.
Right. Okay.
As
So,
I
yes, he's,
will, before going to bed, though, I will refill the flask. And in the morning, hand it off to him with another warning. And this is the last one. That he needs to make this last and don't go sharing it with every man, woman, and child that's in the desert. Let's keep it to himself this time.
as the afternoon begins to turn into night.
I also ask him why he made me hit him. You know I don't want to do that.
Why'd you make me? Amir tells you that he's going to take his men up into the hills a ways.
Okay.
So as not to cause a problem with the people here in Marib. And they'll wait an hour after sunrise for an answer, and if none comes, then they'll carry on. And he wishes that God grants you victory regardless in your quest. And him and the Bedu depart.
Okay.
Okay, is there anything you'd like to do this night?
Yeah, I'll talk to Stanton about this.
Oh, right.
So we're heading in the direction that the tribe that he has a blood feud with is.
Well, let me be clear that the directions he gave you, you would avoid that if you skirt along the mountains, right?
Yeah.
He said, but if you don't, you were about to run into him. So
Yeah. No,
right,
but that's what I'm saying to Stanton is just we're heading in the direction
right.
of the...
Okay.
Well, I know that because we already discussed it earlier. I traded 2 boxes of ammo for
Yeah,
that.
this is just
Yeah,
the
okay.
conversation. Like, this is
Hey, calm down.
what
We're
I
just
say
talking
when
here.
I come up.
We're
you
just
know?
talking here. You don't
We're
gotta be
headed
so
in the
weird.
direction of the people he has a
You
blood
better get it
feud
right.
with. So he's asking if we'll help him fight these people. And in return, he and his friend, I guess, will go with us through the empty quarter or whatever it's called, the whole sand sea, to find this city. And he'll teach us the ways of survival out here in this kind of desert. Now, their blood feud is their blood feud and means little to me, but I am inclined to take him up on this offer, but it's your decision because the bulk of the fighting men here work for you, and it's not really what anybody signed up for. So I'll leave it to you, but I think it could be beneficial. For one, I think getting in a fight with Bedouin out here is sort of an inevitability anyway, so it might as well be on our terms. But two, I think having him with us will be very beneficial when we get deeper into the desert. But I'll leave it up to you.
Well, maybe you don't have to worry about this as much, fighting a bunch of ignorant Mexicans where you come from, Mr. Wentworth. But from what I understand, his descriptions that you translated for me earlier, the people that we would be killing are also friends with the people of this city as well. Am I wrong in that, GM? Or was that something that he was hinting at?
They are.
So, are we on the right side if we go about killing these people? Because you're going to lose sanctuary of the city on the way back through. And for what? A couple of backwater hick camel riders that will show us through the desert? It's one of those. If you think 5 days is worth that, we can. But once I've found in my various trips throughout the Asias as well as Africa that once this type of bloodletting starts, you just don't stop it. So
Yeah, that's true.
you might say it's up to me. I would say we avoid them and we waste the 5 days just because I don't really feel that much ammo wasted is a good thing. But
Okay.
if you really feel that 5 days is worth it, then we should go for it and
No,
start watering this desert.
no, you're right. It is not our fight. So
In fact, if we were to really want to start this, I would argue that we should just kill the Bedouins that were here trading today and save us the time and befriend us, hopefully with the others that we are about to encounter.
well, yeah, but you do have a point there. All right.
Food for thought, Mr. Wentworth. Now I'm going to seek my bed because I feel like crap.
Okay, everybody give me a luck roll.
Success.
Mm-hmm.
Hard success.
All right, this will go to Wentworth then. As you're lying there on your cot, thinking about the day's events and the decision that you had made. You're sort of propped out on one elbow looking out at the desert night. But you see some yards distant, the, eyes catching the light. You think it's probably an antelope or something is passing by the camp. You can let it pass if you'd like.
No, what do they have out here?
It's called an oryx.
Oryx.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'll grab my rifle and stalk out there and see if I can get a good look at it.
Yeah. I mean, it is cloudless night, so you have some good light even beyond the campfire. But mostly the way you're able to pick it up is that it's a darker shape against the light on the horizon, right? So, and since it's relatively flat out here, you can just see it slowly moving across the horizon, although its silhouette will sometimes get obscured as it passes, bushes are in front of it and stuff like that. So it's not, maybe what you would call an ideal shot, but it does seem to be, broadside at least.
Yeah. And how far away?
You could probably be within the range of your rifle. So I think, you're like 110 yards, somewhere in there before you think you might spook it. I mean, it stopped and looked curiously at the fires burning in your camp, but it hasn't been spooked by any of the noises that come out of it yet.
Okay. Well, I don't think I'll shoot it. I'll just watch it.
Okay.
I'll just watch what it does and think poetically in the
About it,
moonlight.
right?
Yeah.
Write a haiku.
Yeah, so it travels for a time until it's lost to sight.
Yeah, it's odd that it's by itself.
Yeah.
Herd animals, right?
Yes. Now, there are quite a few insects tonight as well. Because of the rains from the past days, everything's kind of, the whole system started up. The shrubs and the trees turned green. Insects came to eat those, and insects that eat those insects came to eat those. And in particular, there are these huge spiders that crawl everywhere at night that make sleep quite a predicament. Because they have no concern for anything. They just, once they appear, they just start, and they're not even actually spiders. They're camel spiders. But they're just like everywhere, like the first one you see is with the last sun rays, and then just more and more of them come out, and they can bite and it hurts, but there's no venom or anything like that.
Okay.
Which Nigel would warn you of if you asked about them earlier on. But they do crawl on you and they do wake you up. So without a power roll, your sleep's going to be compromised tonight. Or alternatively, you might be able to come up with some survival technique to keep them out.
So like desert survival?
Right.
Man, I think that's better than my power roll. Nope.
Success for me, desert survival. See, the thing about these spiders is you can keep them out of your tent, they won't come in.
Let's see, do we got one from Thompson here? Can you do a power roll for me? Because unless you guys specifically pull them out and pack them up, so far the temperature's been mild enough that you guys just, have.
So you want a power or you want
fire.
desert?
No,
Either.
power's fine.
Okay.
Desert survival is just an option to come up with a technique to keep them away from your area. So, yeah, they just disturb you, Stanton. But you're it just stalls you out for the day. You have not traveled today, and you don't plan to tomorrow. So you're just still kind of stuck at that one exhaustion level. But you have another day to potentially get rid of it, So, all right, on to Sunday, March 6th. Still in Marib. The plan is to rest here yet another day. Looks like Matt Vevanya is going to make a healing roll today. Let's see how he does. He does not have a cold. No hit points gained this week. Mr. Wentworth, you wake up feeling much refreshed this morning because you feel that your cold symptoms have gone away. I mean, you have some dregs of it left, but nothing's disturbing you. And really the main thing is how it taxes the body when you're also traveling rather than the obvious symptoms. So on this day, villagers from Marib come out to trade as the Bedu did in the camp. They start to appear as breakfast is being made. They are friendly enough, and all the old timers, and this is something you've experienced a few times, they spend a significant time looking at the, quote, Christians, end quote, right? And they're men so bent and twisted with age that they resemble some of the desert trees you've been passing in recent days. They look at you, Christians, with imperceptible expressions for a long time before hobbling back to their homes. But the village elders and important people Thanks, John. You distracted.
Sorry. It was too good to pass up.
The village elders and important people are going about trading, and they have women with them who are, bringing out village-made items, whether that be head wraps or the clothes that you've seen the Bedouin or locals wearing that they're trying to trade off to you people here. Now, unless you've specifically gone for that style, you're the more Western version of being outdoors, which is a little different than that. It's not as layered for the heat like they do it.
No, this is where Stanton will begin to start the transition to more native dress.
Okay.
Which is, I figure something he does as he goes. So.
Right. Yeah, it does. At a distance, it can sometimes cause you not to be accosted by people if they think you are just another group. With that trading, food stores can be replenished with the successful luck roll, the degree, so we'll leave that to you, Stanton, since I assume it's something you'll have Ibrahim do.
Yeah.
This is just determining how much food this village has. So with a
hard success,
you can fully replenish your stock.
See, luck when it comes to me, no good. But when I give the order for someone to do it,
It works.
bam. I should have ordered Ibrahim to keep the spiders off of me.
Ibrahim, do something about these blasted spiders.
Sure thing, boss.
Your compliment, and you may decide to choose to reduce this at any time when you start losing camels or something like that, but you like to build up to 1,536 pounds of food and 1,422 liters of water. This gives everybody 14 days, right?
Okay.
So that's the safest you like to be. But of course, the reality is that sometimes you end up only carrying 3 days or.
But they don't need to know
Right,
that.
yeah. But if you have the opportunity to get back up there, you'd be a fool not to take it.
They also don't need to know that I've already earmarked a good number of them for day 4 and day
Right.
5.
So let's see. Let's look at the group report here.
It's only cannibalism if you feel that they're human.
Yes.
Oh.
It always likes to shoot me out into the middle of the map when you switch over to this one.
Yeah.
So I don't see any of the markers until I zoom out. And I'm like,
Right.
Oh, my God.
Where are we? Okay. Give me just a sec to update these amounts.
Nice. And I don't know if the hard success is going to ensuring of the food extra, but I'd also like to see if we could maybe trade for potential more goods for trading with other Bedouins. But based on what I heard, it might not be that important because the next 2 major tribes we're coming up against are
They might be
hostile.
problems for you.
Yeah. So we'll trade with lead with them. And I think I will probably take aside some of my men and assign them scouting
Okay.
for the next leg, despite the fact we're heading to the south to go along the border.
Right. It's the border of what would be the Rub al-Khali and an area known as the Hadramaut, which is currently like a British protectorate.
Okay.
The water, of course, will be free. The village is happy to allow you to draw from their well.
Well.
Okay. All right. So camels can also be purchased here at the similar asking price as what you got in Sanaa, but a little bit more, I think, at $200 per head. You do need 1 camel if you want to get that water back up to your 14 days.
Yeah.
So go ahead and give Ibrahim the okay on that.
Yeah. Which I figure was already pre-okayed when he slaughtered the other camel.
Right, yeah,
So.
basically. Ray Flanagan, sometime after, morning breakfast or whatever, he comes up to you saying, I'm a little bit bored, boss. Is there anything to hunt in these lands? Since we're staying here another day, you mind if I, go have a wee hunt? Take a couple of the boys?
I'm sure you can. Wentworth, my man here, Flanagan, wishes to do some hunting in the area. I think it's probably best if we ask what permissions are allowed for that. Don't want him angering some... We don't want him angering someone. Stepping on toes.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take care of it. I'll go find someone and start asking questions. Like,
Yeah, they don't.
who owns the land around here? And
Yeah, as far as they know, they don't. The claim that they see is from the Bani Yam tribe, as that the grazing and stuff is theirs. But since you're kind of a guest then you have full access to what the Bonnie Yam would claim as their own. And for hunting, they have no issue with you doing that.
All right.
Do they have any sort of
branding system, markings on the animals that should be avoided if they're part of a herd?
Well, yeah, just don't hunt camels or goats, and you won't make anybody angry around here.
All right. You heard him, Flanagan. Be back here before dark.
Yeah, he gives a general call to a few of your men to try to get somebody else or 2 other people to go with him, but none of them are too keen, although Marco Romero is always game to get up to the shenanigans Ray Flanagan gets up to. But he also does extend the invitation to your half of the men, Mr. Wentworth. So
Don't worry, Wentworth. By the time he comes back, that fight you wanted with those Bedouins to the east will have happened.
Yeah. Be just my luck.
But none of yours do take him up on that. Curtis Cooper still looks, a little bad.
Yeah.
Maybe even worse than he did the day before. Dr. Francis Morgan, he just kind of waves him away. Nigel Stedford's like, but we have all this camel to eat yet. What do you want? He's like, I just want to kill something, all right? It's a raised thing. So he sets off then with Marco Ramiro to try to get something.
I'll look after them longingly.
I want to go hunt.
I want to hunt something.
You can come, boss.
I have work.
Let me just see how he does real quick.
Ibrahim doesn't manage himself. I have to be there, otherwise he'll just dote after that wife of his. Fool.
What I should do is I should talk to the wife and give her the itinerary of what I need and have her manage Ibrahim.
Him, right? Yeah, that's true. That would be smart. Strike a deal with the wife and. All right. So, at some point during the day, while all this trading is going on and people are doing various tasks, but mostly it's intended to be a day of leisure and a Sunday, no less. So everybody's kind of, catching up on any book that they brought with them or just enjoying the desert views, as today is not a bad day. You're looking at an 83 high, sunny and clear. So as long as you have some shade to retreat to, which you guys do, it's very restful. But at some point, there does appear to be a quarrel around Curtis Cooper, so you're most likely to catch this between, like a verbal quarrel, it's in French, between Dr. Sala and Adimu Tafari, Ibrahim's wife.
Yeah.
Ibrahim's there, of course. When you look up to it, he's staring like a thunderhead at this Dr. Sala. But they're quarreling about something having to do with Curtis Cooper. I don't know if you speak French.
I don't.
That's just a language that Sala and Adimu share, because she doesn't speak English.
Yeah, I don't speak French, but I will go up and ask what the hell's going on. What are we arguing about?
Are you asking the doctor? He's like, she's got some tribal medicine. She wants him to inhale the vapor from herbs or something like that. He's in my care. I don't recommend that.
Why not?
Well, there's no indication that it'll help, and I'm not going to go out on some, witch doctor type thing.
Okay. All right, carry on. He's in your hands, doctor. I trust you.
Okay, so
have you asked Curtis what he wants to do?
Well, bad idea to ask the patient sometimes what they want to do, but I guess I could.
Yeah.
Patient
You
wants
think
to
that's-
keep their limb despite it needing to be.
Well, everybody's got to get along, and
Well, I don't have a problem with her. She's just so darn insistent. She won't. Well, he doesn't really say that. She's just so insistent, and I don't know by what basis she's coming from. In medical school, we learned there's a whole host of these traditional cures that do the opposite of what they intend to do, and I have no idea. I don't even know where she got these herbs. His lungs are much compromised. She wants him to inhale some vapors.
This is Sala.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like uber Christian. He's not anointing the guy's head and,
Right.
and laying hands. So yeah.
Yeah. But you can see Ibrahim, who also speaks French, he didn't like the tone of the thing there, right? So he still looks very upset at how his wife was spoken to, I suppose.
Yeah.
But so far he hasn't said anything.
well, I'll talk to him. Like, what is it your wife's trying to do here?
He's trying
Like,
to.
what are these herbs?
He's trying to heal that man.
What herbs is?
Well, there's some from across the Red Sea. They were known to our people to to heal afflictions of the lungs.
Have you seen that happen before?
Yes.
Well, let's give it a try. Let's talk to the patient and see what he wants to do. But
Yeah, and Curtis is just sort of dazed, not really carrying on about this fuss that's going on around him. But when you directly address him, his eyes kind of come into focus, and he's got a weak little voice, and he hacks at the end of, a sentence, that sort of thing.
do you want to breathe in some vapors?
Some mysterious smoke.
And I'll give him a brief explanation. She thinks it'll help.
Well, what do you think, Mr. Wentworth? I don't want to...
Well,
I'm sure I'll be okay if...
a lot of these type of cures, they do end up helping people. Tribes people from the United States had all sorts of things like this. They do seem to work sometimes. So,
Well, I don't know. Are we gonna rest here for another day? I think I'll be...
Right as rain.
I think I'll be okay.
I don't think you're gonna be able to continue with this if you don't start getting better. It seems like you're getting worse. I think we're gonna have to leave you if you don't. So I think you should try it.
Okay, if you think so, Mr. Wentworth, I'll try it. So the three of them are kind of looking at you expectantly.
Well, let's get on with it then.
Sala throws his hands up, just shaking his head, and he goes off to stand off a ways and
I'll
be upset.
I'll have to make it up to him later. Yeah.
But Adimu goes to work. She had a pot, right? And she was going to boil the water, put the herbs in it, which she does real quickly. And then she has, him put a towel over his head, just kind of breathe this up over the pot. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And whether or not it has any immediate effect, you don't know. You can, I suppose, give me a natural world roll.
Mm.
This would kind of be like the folk remedies you've picked up, if you've heard of similar ones.
No.
Yeah. You don't know anything about that. I mean, you do know that they like to blow smoke up at people's rectums
That's
back on your continent.
Yeah. Isn't that a white doctor thing?
Where that expression comes from.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But yeah, anyhow, so hopefully it'll work. Something's better than nothing, likely, in that case.
I read an article where they were going over how that came about.
Yeah.
And there was a supposed report where a farmer's wife, something happened, and the person writing it apparently either doesn't quite know how stuff works down there, or anyway, apparently the farmer stuck the corn cob part of his pipe
what?
up said rectum to blow the smoke. And it's like, no, you would stick the mouth
Right.
part and blow into the bowl. Dude, those corn cobs are not like usually polished. They're in a rough state.
Right.
So sandpaper, oh man, what a freaking idiot.
The things some people will do.
Yeah.
And again, observing him for the rest of the day, you couldn't tell for sure. He does seem to fall asleep at some point, and at least when he's sleeping, he's not coughing so much.
Okay.
So there is that. And Ray comes back late in the day after a full day of hunting with nothing to show for it and looking even more bored. And that's it for the day, unless you guys wanted to do something specifically with that day.
I'm good. I'll take my rest, hopefully get over this cold. I like to think that Ray is just as drunk as he always is.
Right.
It's just that for some reason he's able to do it as so stealthily that
Nobody knows.
yeah.
Oh, even though a whole barrel's already missing by now.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So moving on to Monday, March 7th, the expedition will start out again. Today, again, is sunny and clear. Looks to be about as warm as it will be yesterday. Today, you will bid farewell to Marib, and there the people come out in the morning to try to encourage you to stay, and they explain to you that it's really no problem and that you do them a great honor by being guests of their village, but of course you must go. So how about we get to that navigate roll, Mr. Stanton? With that, you were able to get a good night's sleep. The spiders were less, and you had acclimated them to a degree, so they didn't wake you up when they did crawl on you. So you're at your best. You still have a cold, of course,
Yeah.
for a few more days, but you're
I think it's like 8 more days.
right. But your navigate roll is just at the base. Of course, you do get a bonus
All right.
because of your navigator, if you wish to take it.
I do. hard success. I do want to switch over to just rolling that twice and taking the lower one. I do not trust the
the thing. Yeah. Let's see here. What's the hard? I forget.
So yeah, that morning I'll be going over my map and holding the daily court for
Right.
that. And
All right, our trajectories change. We're now heading to the south to go along the, was it the Irene border?
Yeah.
This will cost us some time. I'm going to be sending out scouts. Mr. Wentworth, now that we're entering into more hostile Bedouin territory. And we have more than enough food, but from the sound of it, we'll start to be pressed and falling on hard times, as there will be no more sanctuary for the
Okay.
next leg of this journey.
All right. Now things get exciting.
Indeed they do. Keep your arms at the ready, gentlemen.
Okay, half a minute to do the bookkeeping there. So yeah, you can see your progression for there March 7th. What are we doing? 2.5 pounds a day. If you'd let Mr. Thompson, or if you, Mr. Thompson, if you had let Mr. Brown get himself killed by that Bedu, your resource consumption would go down.
Which the same can be said of everybody.
That's true. Okay, it's a good overall journey for that day. You're making, like, the terrain is not so rough, and you're staying out of the hills. You're just sort of using them as a marker to travel along, to know you're not entering the territory of not the settled Banyam, but the Bedu Banyam, which are the ones still likely to give you problems. But where was I? So the easiest path is this nearly straight shot along that edge of the flat valley, and your path even traces along an old caravan route from ages ago, with desert rose growing along one side and choked with tamarisk shrubs. So it's no longer in use. Desert rose is like a tree. It's got like a big bulbous body.
Oh, okay.
And this takes you east and along the edge of those low rocky hills. Eventually, the old caravan trail peters out, and at that stage, you take your midday break. And the second half of the march takes you near a few low dunes baked red by the sun, but you see pock marks, which are the passage in the sand of some animal, and where it breaks the crust of the sand, it's more cream-colored underneath, so it's kind of like an interesting red and cream contrast there. And near dusk, you come upon an old campfire burned to embers. There's extra wood nearby and 3 pieces of charred meat within the ashes. There's a fallen piece of wood with a complete set of Bedouin clothes draped over it and a pair of boots in front. And there's a grid etched in the sand around the boots with stones in different parts of the grid. Mr. Thompson, you recognize that game, although there's no sign of the owner of the clothes or where they went. And then you call it for the night after 30 miles there, Mr. Stenton.
How old is the fire?
You could give me a either, well, we could do track or hard intelligence,
Ooh, tracking ain't good. What's my intelligence? Hard intelligence?
or perhaps even natural world.
Natural world, we can give it a try. That's a bit better. Nah.
Yeah.
Is it hot still?
If you dig, yeah, you find some coals still active in there, but there was nothing just waving your hand over it.
I think I'll err on the side of caution and
No fires tonight.
Okay. Yeah, which ends up not being too bad, as the temperature doesn't drop too bad tonight, and nobody misses it too much other than being in the darkness. But you kind of adjust to it, and it does actually get pretty bright in the desert.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, when you look out on those dunes over to the north, it all is almost Arctic in appearance when the sun departing drains like color from the world, and you just got those grays. Anyhow, but sleep passes for you all without issue. Although I do need constitution rolls for the day's ride. just at the regular level, unless you have a cold, Mr. Stanton. Then it's at the hard. Of course, you can mitigate that with cocaine if you wish.
No, gotta save it. Nope, just a regular one.
Who am I checking for today? Do you want to spend that point of luck to make it a hard?
Is it only 1 point?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do that. I am worried, though, because as long as this cold's going, I might have to get on that train, take a ride with cocaine,
Right.
throw the entire duration going off it. It doesn't seem fun, especially when we're going to be out here.
Yeah, looking at your group at the end of the night, feeling a bit taxed, but better than you thought you were going to be. Your camel was nice to you today and didn't meander as much, or it didn't move in a way that required so much strength for you to keep your saddle or whatever they call it upright. But you do look amongst your own men. There are those who have that cold that seem to have suffered during today's journey. The other of Bo Whiteman's geologist, who also has the cold, although not Mr. Brown, seems to have suffered and looks the worse for wear, as well as a few amongst the Yemeni workers also seem to be taking a toll just from one day's journey, but they'll be okay. So, Tuesday, March 8th, weather again, another sunny and clear day. Let's see how the navigation goes for today, Mr. Stanton.
Alrighty. Extreme.
That's a 35 mile. You might do better than even the estimate he gave you for the journey.
Well, at the end of the day, these Bedouins are no match for good old
What would I consider myself? I guess
African ingenuity. Why, we used to track a easy 30 miles through jungle thick as...
Okay. So yeah, your trek for today begins over a series of low dunes that are just north of this rocky mountain range, or hill range really, that you're following, that at a bird's eye view would look like, just wrinkles in the land. So you can just keep going up and down these little low dunes, but they're not too steep. They don't seem to disturb the camels that much. But again, to imagine that the desert before you is not the Rub al Khali makes you somewhat fearful of what lies ahead. Nevertheless, the rocky terrain of yesterday has fully given way to sandy dunes and salt flats. Saltbrush still clings to the flats, and the occasional dune hosts a bent gaff or acacia tree here and there, just right at the top of the dune, And on some of the herdsmen amongst the Yemeni, you'll see them make an effort to stop and pluck a saltbrush or something out of the ground and put it into a sack that they have with their camel, right? And you guys could make a desert survival. Maybe you've actually done that in your own, but we'll see if you've heard of it. It is kind of unique to the Bedou way. Yeah. So there's actually a significant desert in Morocco, of course, nearby, and you went through them. And so there are some stretches where it's worth the time that anytime you see a brush or something that your camel can eat or your mount, you go and you grab it. You save it for a feed at a later time.
Oh, okay.
So, so you see them doing that occasionally. They'll stop and start grabbing them. By your estimation, Mr. Stanton, without fully knowing the lay of the land, you might say it's premature, but, they're as much a stranger to this part of the world as you are, basically. But they are at least aware of that desert survival technique. Okay, so just as you're looking around for an area to take the midday break, Mr. Stanton, you feel something brush your back, and when you look over your shoulder, you see Marco Ramiro there. He's kind of got one hand with a handkerchief, over his nose, because he's caught the cold too, with his camel stick pointed at you, but then he nods towards the ground, where you see a deathstalker scorpion he had knocked from your back is scurrying along the sand. And he just gives you a silent nod.
Yeah, I'll give him a nod back. Make a note for a 10-cent bonus.
Right. So after traveling for a little while longer, you stumble upon another Bedouin campsite. The that you could attempt another track roll at if you want to see its age. I'll throw natural world in there as well. No luck.
No luck.
It's a track you're looking for?
Yep. Yeah, you'd say it's hours old, maybe 12 hours, right? You can tell that there are probably 12 of them there, and you would guess that this is the Bedouin group that you had dealt with days previous, and their tracks head more north than your easterly direction you're taking now.
Okay. This is Amir's group?
Yeah.
Okay.
There is a small wooden box with the remains of an opium ball in it, seemingly abandoned there. So just some trash they were done with.
Yeah.
Okay. So by the later afternoon, only the mountainous terrain to the south gives you any indication that you've not been entirely swallowed by this desert. A long salt flat makes for a good place to make your encampment, Mr. Stanton.
Mm. Oh, I've also, I don't know if they've been doing it the entire time,
What?
but Flanagan setting up his machine gun.
Oh, at night?
Yeah.
Okay.
In prime locations.
Yeah, we can have him do that. Yeah, which usually in this case, you guys could actually retreat at the cost of just 1 mile to your day's travel towards that southern rocky hill range, and it would be a lot more defendable. If you want to stay out on the dunes, you basically just pick a dune, put your machine gun on top of it, and then you camp around it, right? So it's at your choice there.
Yeah, like I'd prefer to not rely on the rocky outcrop and keep the mile. Yeah, I figure like we'd kind of put them at the top of a dune, and we'd camp hopefully in the valley between the two, and then hopefully some sort of like ability to like camouflage them a little bit,
right?
Dig them in. I don't know how we do it in a bunch of sand, but
yeah, I mean there are some brush, that you could bring into the equation. You do occasionally come across a tree at the top of one of those dunes. How it survives is always beyond you when you look at desert plant life, because it looks like it's dead, but all it will take is one rain for it to look the opposite way. But at the time you're making your encampment, you do just poking around to set up this defensive location, find yet another campsite. This time there's signs of a recent burial, but it seems older than Amir's camp, right? And there's a simple stone to mark the grave, and the black Bedou robes and head wrap are laid across the grave. Nigel can tell you that that's how they do it. And actually they do it for the next desert dweller who comes along and needs it to pick it up, right? Because they have this idea about, it's a scarcity thing. That's kind of like just how they pass stuff on. So, yeah. But it seems to be a separate group. Okay, is there anything for March 8th you want to tell me or do that you have not already?
Nope.
Okay. Let's do the Constitution checks. Hard for you, Mr. Stanton. I will check the NPCs. Cocaine, Mr. Stanton?
Ah, man.
Extreme success.
Marco Ramiro will request some cocaine.
Yeah, he's probably got his own.
Yeah, if he doesn't have his own ration of it. Still didn't help him.
Man. Yeah, let's get on the train.
Okay, so you're starting to see some. If you were a betting man, Mr. Wentworth, you probably would have put your money on more of the Westerners starting to flag from the long ride, but you're actually seeing more amongst the Yemeni workers, because a lot of them were, settled.
Yeah.
And not tribesmen, so they weren't used to the long journey, but at least they don't appear to be suffering from the cold. You see that the cocaine, Mr. Stanton, didn't help Marco Ramiro very much at all. Did you decide to take it?
Yeah.
How is Curtis doing?
He's doing better,
Okay.
or at least holding, despite that. I mean, he looks sometimes, particularly by the end of the day, just like pale as death, right? But he goes right to sleep. Dimu is continuing this treatment with the herb she brought with her. So if it's not getting better, it at least isn't getting worse, right? And he hasn't given you cause for, or he hasn't given any complaint about it. Okay, so anybody pick up any fatigue? Did you? Nope, you're all good.
Yeah, if all I needed was a normal success, I'm good on the coke.
Okay, so for Wednesday, March 9th, the morning begins bright and clear, at least. The sun is brilliant and unrelenting. As has become his custom, Mr. Wentworth Arbogast is taken to preparing tea or coffee and a small breakfast for you in the morning. By now, his finely cut clothes have turned the color of sand and have begun to fray at the edges. His cream-colored inner shirt has gone yellow with sweat.
Mm-hmm.
It's embarrassing to be waited on in such a fashion. However, the man has sort of an unrelenting cheerfulness in face of an unpleasant journey. He begins with, another fine day in the desert, sir. And this morning, though, he gives you a minor complaint about the ache in his leg, along with a warning. Storm today, I think, sir. Today or tomorrow. Shall I ready the camels, sir?
Very well.
Okay. And,
so what do I see out in the world, like up ahead? Like if it does storm, and like, are we in any sort of danger area for flash floods or whatever?
yeah, I mean, that's always a problem with desert. So any low point, before the water can drain off, it floods, right?
Yeah.
But you do have some elevation you can retreat to.
Okay.
Give or take a mile in the distance that you see to the south, these rocky hills you've been traveling for. You don't see any indication of a storm at the moment, but the day is early. With a natural world, you can determine likely where you might begin to see those.
Is that just an open natural world for everyone, or
Yeah.
give it a try?
Or if you have science meteorology, you can do that.
Is mine at penalty, or
Yes. Do you have one level of exhaustion or not?
I forget?
I don't think so. I think you were all rested up and you passed the first one, right? And took cocaine to pass the second one. So
Yeah.
you should be good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Close, but nah. Do I know a man? I won't know unless he talks to me. But if just in case, is there a man on my team that has a similar wound that aches when?
Oh, like your weather vane,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah, you have guys who have specialties in that sort of thing.
Okay.
You know.
So I'll bring it up then if it comes up.
Yeah, the trick for everybody is it's a little harder since you don't know where the prevailing winds come from, like where you might see early indication. But you do know, just as sort of a general understanding, that the Arab Sea is to the south. That's the closest body of water where clouds are likely to roll in off of. So if a storm does come, it will be, wet. What did we get this? Yes. Which character does this represent, John? Okay. Just okay. You can ask the AI to make his eyes more hollow and soulless. Just keep doing more and more and keep us updated. We'll see what it looks like. Okay. A wonder for this morning, for those who know him, is that you see Bo Whiteman up and early for some reason and bothering most of the people in the camp that he's willing to bother. So he kind of ignores like the Yemenis and people like that. But which main one? Okay. Okay. So he comes around, say to you, Mr. Wentworth, and you, Mr. Thompson, and he's asking for a small portion of flour, like your flour, your drippings, bacon, and cheese. So he does this to you and like Mr. Thompson.
Okay. Well, I mean, if I have it, I'll give it to him.
Right, yeah. So he's sort of collecting it. He's got a pouch he's putting it all in, or different containers. And as you watch him do this, he goes up to Victor and he's talking to Victor, and then they start getting to work making a breakfast, apparently for at least most of the camp. Because if the Yemeni don't find, if they don't know about the bacon, they would be upset to find out that it's in there. But he does also use Traysom go and talk to one of the Yemeni herdsmen, and he comes back with a steel mug full of milk. And he starts making up a big old batch of biscuits and gravy. Just a little taste of Texas for y'all, right? So that's what you guys end up having in the morning is biscuits and gravy. Although it turns out you only get like a couple of biscuits each, but it's enough for, and it's really good. He's got a knack for it. So it's missing a few things that he can't get in there, the seasonings he would use normally.
I don't know about this scone and gravy.
Right.
This isn't even a proper gravy.
Oh, it is country gravy there, Mr. Stanton. You never had it before?
No, we have proper gravy.
And what is proper gravy?
Brown.
Brown. Huh. Well, I never tried it that way. This is the way we do it back home. Hope you enjoy it,
It's
sir.
delicious. Thank you.
All right, navigation roll, Mr. Stanton.
That said, that might be a little too English for Stanton even. The going with the brown gravy. Just doing it for the memes.
Great. The blood of my enemy.
Success.
All right. Regular.
Mm-hmm.
See how we do with a regular. Is 25 miles.
So, do you bring up the possibility of a storm from Arbogast?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. When he does that, I'll call out for one of my weathermen.
Yeah. Okay. We'll give him a shot to give his own take on it.
How's the leg treating you? Or the arm, the shoulder, whatever.
Okay, half a minute for the book work.
We're 3 days out from that city or town.
Yeah, at your current pace, you think, given the route that he gave you to travel, I'll give you your rough estimate of mileage here. Yeah, about 70 miles, give or
Right.
take a few. Oh, Mr. Thompson, I forgot to ask you, since you have completed that casting of one spell, will you begin your next spell, the learning it? I think if I remember our conversation way back then, you were interested in the Vorish sign, or perhaps it was the Enchant the Blade one. Okay. Well, we'll get around to some rolls on it for now, but suffice it to say, we'll say that from a few days ago, you've been reading about it each night, so we can give you like 3 days on the study for it. Okay. Find my place. All right. Oh, I gotta check your guy.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to the stranger. His power is always expanding.
Nice.
Yeah, so he will concur with Mr. Wentworth's warning about a storm coming. His issue, though, well, hard success, he says, yeah, whatever it is, it's going to be pretty intense. And he'll nod off to the south and be like, those clouds are going to break over those hills here any minute, I would expect. And by late morning, it's clear to all that a storm is brewing. The clouds that appear on the southern horizon are dark and threatening. Several portend thunder and lightning and likely rain. So,
All right. Yeah. Let's spend what time we have looking for some sort of shelter and higher ground then,
okay.
Yeah.
instead of trying to make a pace.
All right.
Can that be what my navigate was more for than?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you would, if you had been able to do it, you'd say you'll get there, but we can, yeah, so it's like by afternoon that they're almost overhead and you want to make for higher ground.
Yeah, and preferably some sort of outcropping that won't get us like drowned
Or washed away.
yeah.
Yeah, you think those southern hills are pretty good. How much do you want to risk continuing to make some progress, or do you just want to make a beeline for those hills?
I'm going to say we're going to beeline for the hills, like no progress.
Okay. So we'll just take you a little down there then for March 9th.
Yeah, like I'd say Stanton, like early on, isn't the time for risk taking. It's once you start getting desperate.
Right. That you need to make those big pushes.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, with that, let me give you a new.
Can we also collect rainwater if it's going to rain?
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's going to be full of scorpions.
It's going to rain scorpions.
They add to the
You
flavor.
can eat those, can't you?
I don't
Probably.
see why not.
Usually
dinner
most venoms
and
or whatnot.
drinks all in one.
The problem only comes in if you have an ulcer or a cut in your mouth, right? Because other than that, your stomach just thinks it's a protein. Because I was wondering about that camel that got bit, if it was safe to eat. And
Yeah.
so I learned that. So, yeah, by midday, just as you make it into the rocky area and you find a place where you can shelter to some degree, at least you don't think you'll be in danger of being struck by lightning, is when you hear the first great rolling peal of thunder from the south, and it's followed by a wicked fork of lightning in the far distance. You do, as you make into those hills, under sort of a flat rock jutting out that you can at least, You won't be able to fit, obviously, all the camels and everything in there, but all the people should be able to get enough safety. That's where you're at. But you see, like, there's a discarded goat skin bag there that's empty and from some distant past. So during the thunderstorm, we'll have you guys make a group luck roll. So whoever's got the lowest.
I got a 52.
Maybe me. Yeah, 46.
I'm 77.
Jesus. All right, so here goes. 15, hard success.
Nice.
Good job.
Well done.
It's because I keep care of my group.
Yeah, so all that occurs is there is a nearby lightning strike a few, say like 25 yards beyond like the most distant camel from this outcropping. So it spooks them a little bit, but they settle pretty quickly. And instead of one getting struck by lightning on a fumble, fuel camel.
Oh, nice.
And a rule of cool must
Can
state
I
that it
re-roll?
explodes.
Can I push for a fumble? Would that give me like some sort of like downpouring of luck at another point?
So you can tell that Curtis Cooper, Mr. Wentworth, and Mr. Thompson, since you're sort of closest arranged to him, he's kind of freaking out by this lightning, and he's not like really settling there despite his illness. And that close bolt, he kind of has like a panic response, and he starts running out from amongst the group where you're all huddled there, and you have kind of like beyond the lip a barrier of where you may have opened these water barrels that you have mounted on them just to collect rainwater.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, so he's kind of making a break for it. It's you've seen it a lot where you're doing the exact thing you're not supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
This panic response. But yeah, he's breaking past you and Mr. Thompson to begin with to run out.
So brawl him,
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
want.
Yeah.
grab him.
Grab him.
I'll give you both a roll to grab at him.
Oops, my knife was accidentally out.
Roll damage.
Grab him with my knife.
Yeah, so you easily, well, I guess I could make it not so easy.
Better roll, John.
Nice.
Got a success.
So would that make it like a hard for him? Or a
Yeah.
penalty, I mean?
But he failed it. I could see if he'll fumble. No, because then he could accidentally break his neck or something.
With John being involved in that brawl, that's a high possibility based
Yeah.
on his track record.
Right. No, you easily grab a hold of him, and he's like, let me go. Come on, we're going to get flooded in here.
Just calm down.
But the maddening thing is that not much rain comes out of these clouds, but eventually it does break towards the tail end of the day, and you basically fill up your water barrels, at least if you have them all out there to
Yeah.
open.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's what Stanton would be sitting there kind of waiting for is, like kind of praying silently like to himself that it needs to break. We need water just to keep going forward. Not that we're in danger of it yet, but somewhere in his head, he's like, though that water goes, we're all gone type of thing. So he's just fill it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it does for a long time just to leave you, like it just has that heavy feeling before it finally dumps it out. Where did I paste that son of a gun?
Worse comes to worse, I will shoot the clouds.
Okay, there we go. Back up to full on water. Zing. So yeah, you guys huddle there for the remainder of the night. Eventually the clouds, pass after midnight and the rain and the thunder. And then you see the twinkling of the stars again. And you feel that it's safe enough that if you'd like, you can spread out. So you don't have to sleep so cramped together.
Okay.
But while you're under there, you can see there's these burrows for like a small rodent nearby, and they come out curiously when the rain passes to look around. It's called an Arabian jerd. Sort of looks like a whistle pig type thing. But they pop out for a minute and see if I got. Sometimes I upload pictures of them. Not if they're that
Flanagan
interesting.
pop one with his varmint rifle.
Yeah, I could if he wants to. Probably will.
Cute little things.
Yeah.
But the travel was sufficiently short today that we will not have to worry about the Constitution roll.
Well,
It's mostly just sitting around being bored.
We lost a day's travel, but we gained, 3 days' worth of water? I'd say that's a fair trade. One more day to get over this damn cold.
Hey, Curtis, remember when you panicked and tried to run out into the storm? Good times.
The tree outside my house when I was a kid was struck by lightning. I've never... I thought I was not going to have to deal with that again. I don't know why I didn't think about it.
Well, luckily, I was here to save you.
Thanks, Mr. Wentworth. I didn't think... I thought if Thaddeus was still alive, he would be the one that would cause all the problems. But with him dead, I guess I'm the weakest
You gotta
non-survival
take over.
type here. Dang it. Why did you have to die, Thaddeus? Why?
Everyone, including the herdsman, nod and agree.
So, new day, Thursday, March 10th. There's no sign of the storm, any existence of it by the time the sun's up. The sky is just a completely blue, brilliant blue slate. The desert has drank all the water up like it never even existed. The only sign would be for those who know to look at the brush in the trees and see the new green sprouts that have come off of them.
This would be a good time to graze and
Yeah.
potentially...
Yeah, graze just costs you 10 miles off of whatever you make for the day.
Yeah, so I'll talk to Wentworth and all.
I suggest we give the order to graze the camels while we got the chance.
Yeah, we don't know when another chance will come, so...
There is a prevailing wind, this time from the north west.
Sandstorm.
So in the morning, Arbogast preparing a small breakfast for you again. Good morning, sir. Going to be cold tonight, I think, sir. We may wish to set up shelter. Go ahead and give me a hard spot hidden, though, Mr. Wentworth.
Extreme success.
You know, while he's going about this new morning routine, you are struck by a sudden resemblance between him and the Lady Waverly.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know how you missed it before, but for a second there, it's there plain as day.
Son of a gun, son. Okay, I'll keep the knowledge to myself for now.
Okay. All right, navigate roll, Mr. Stanton.
Success.
Okay.
So
we're
was
looking
that
at
15 miles? Yeah. When you started talking about that guy going crazy from the storm, I thought he was going to knock over our water barrels.
It's gonna flood.
Yeah, a true
Push them all over.
like a helicopter about to fall on you moment flash before my eyes.
And also, I failed to mention, Thompson, that those thunderstorms do bother you, but only for role-playing purposes since you're not insane. But there is a similarity to the way thunder sounds and distant artillery sounds, so it does always kind of take you back to your time in the war. So. All right, so 15 miles, you make it out of the hills and back into the low dunes where your path cuts across several still dry wadis, although you can see there's like a little, meter wide trickle where the water from the rains last night was running down them. But it's along these wadis that you find a good stretch of different kind of brush for your camels to stop and feed on for the good part of the day.
Yeah, I'll tell Stanton also, by the way. Apparently it's going to get cold tonight. So we'll need to keep that in mind.
Well, that's easier to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you do know from both of you guys from your desert experience that if the wind it stays all day, that there's really nothing to hold the heat from the day in the desert. So you could even be potentially looking at a possible freeze depending on how long the wind keeps up. And it's not like a huge wind, but it is consistent so far. And one of these wadis you come across after you spend time to feed all the camels has the skeleton of a camel actually in it in the middle of its dry bed. It appears to have been there for many years. You see a rotting leather sack is there also. But you guys are just up on the bank, so it's only for the curious to hop down and go see if there's anything there.
I'm not curious.
Francesco looks at it longingly, but he's not going to break ranks unless somebody else does.
Get left behind in the march.
Right. Okay, well, you call for a break for the day at the, this is about your midday point after the feed. You see some thick clouds begin to roll in from the north this time, although not the kind that really portend rain, but they do offer a relief from the sun. The temperature begins to drop at this point, and by the time camp is struck, it's downright cold. And here you've struck camp next to a bunch of what are called gaff trees. They're just a hardy desert tree. And let's see here. We can give that natural world or science meteorology to ascertain if it will freeze tonight at this point from any of you.
Extreme.
Well done.
No, fumble. This puts us at this. We don't need to role play it even.
It's gonna be hot tonight, guys. I'm not gonna even wear any clothes, and I'm not gonna set up my tent.
Well, you see, Mr. Stanton, when he gives the call that we'll camp here for the night and to unpack all the tents, build the fires up high if you're willing to risk it. You probably won't reach a deep freeze, but at the coldest point of the night, it definitely put a layer of frost on everything, is your estimation. So people should at least be out of that. But you disagree with that assessment, and I would say you might even be so bold as to ignore that advice and continue sleeping under the stars. How do you want to pay the fumble off, I suppose? Because I don't want to force you to take a certain action, but...
No, that sounds right. There's no need for a tent.
Yeah.
Right.
Back when I was chasing the Mexicans all over the border, I sleep outside, no problem. Hey, it's going to be fine. Just going to get chilly. Huddle up in your coat.
It'll get a little chilly maybe, but yeah.
So most of the camp takes Mr. Stanton's advice, and he's purchased enough tents back in Cairo to include everybody that he was aware of at the time in that. Now the Yemenis are kind of on their own, but you guys do have enough different things that you probably could make shelters for those that are concerned about it, which comes down to Mr. Stanton.
Yeah.
So you can send some people out there to...
Yeah, I'll give the order amongst my men.
Set up your tents first. Worry about yourself first, but then once that's done, begin finding enough to shelter the new members of our little party.
Yeah, and that amounts to, with what you have, lean-tos and things of that nature that will keep the northwest wind off of them and help trap, heat from a nearby fire. But, of course, Wentworth is just shaking his head.
Well,
Mr. Thompson, how do you fall on this? You usually camp at night next to Mr. Wentworth, but he's not taking the general advice of Stanton and setting up a tent. He's going to just be caught in fire as he's done mostly. Which way do you fall?
Well, there are certain things that come out in the desert night as that added protection of the tent maybe will protect you a little bit better than just laying up in the cot. As at least a bug net, as that's my suggestion to him. As it's got holes, very airy still. So while it will be hot,
he's asking how you're going to sleep for the night.
Oh,
yeah. Will you take a tent?
I was gonna.
He has tents for you.
I was just gonna share the cot with Wentworth. I thought. I mean, we sleep together every night. You just said.
That's true.
Now, I will take a tent though, as I know that there's things out here that I'd rather not have crawling all around me.
Well, Mr. Whitworth, I hope you impress me. Show proof that you Yanks are cut from tougher cloth.
All right. So you go ahead and give me a spot hidden roll, Mr. Stanton. This is after everything's settled and people are preparing their individual meals. And
any penalties or bonuses?
Nope.
Extreme success.
So, Francesco has gone off to...
Not stealth.
He's packing around Angelo in one arm, who, wonder of wonders, seems to be doing well with the camel's milk and has not been killed yet. But he's gone off to these gaff trees and he's poking around like he does. But you spy him taking something from, like, the opposite side of a tree where you can see and, like, tucking that into his cloak. And then he comes back to the camp again, sort of angling his body away from you. He clearly has Angelo visible, so you're sure it's not his little sand cat friend, but what do you do?
I'll hold out my hand.
Francesco.
So he produces an alabaster idol of a woman with snakes around him, and I can't remember if you saw that altar. Well, you heard it.
Yeah.
So,
and I also knew, I
right.
didn't know about the idol that was in there, but I
Yeah.
knew enough to avoid the temple.
Right, and they were giving even now when they look at Mr. Thompson, the Yemenis and the two Bandars are kind of, he's still sort of a pariah, but so you like quickly, there's nobody around you in you keep like a nice barrier between you and people who are not in Stanton expeditions.
So I don't know that this is the idol that was causing all the talk, but I figure in that Stanton might know enough about like Abrahamic religions versus like other tribes that Abrahamic religions might not take well to a naked snake woman.
Right.
So I'll say,
Don't cause any problems for me, Francesco. The natives here won't take kindly if they catch us with this one.
But I get to keep it, right? I'll put it in my pack.
Looting and pillaging is part of the joys that come with this job, Francesco. The point is to know when and where. Right now, if you start looting everything you come across, you won't have any room to carry back the good treasure, the filthy lucre when we find it. The gold, the jewels.
But I kind of like this lady. Reminds me of my mom.
Freud would have something to say about that, Francesco. But I'll leave it up to you, and I suggest you think well on this one. Gold, jewels, treasures, enough to where you never have to look at my mean mug again. You could live like a king when we get back to the civilized lands, on the gold and riches you'll find. Or you put this statue of this woman in your bag. She takes up room for rations and water, and you're left starving, a thin, dying husk, out on a desert somewhere. Anyway, here you go, Francesco. I'm busy setting up my tent, and I'll gesture to the men that are doing it for me.
Yes.
Keep it hidden from the natives.
So he does that. He heard like maybe the first 5 words. You think of everything that you said, before his eyes return back to the alabaster idol with sort of a look of wonder. But he assures you that it won't be any problem.
also, if Stanton is superstitious, so if we begin to have like odd occurrences, that's where he will blame it.
Okay.
First thing, I'm just going to put that out there now. If we start especially if they're like snake related, if we start having a bunch more snakes than we should, like a plague of damn serpents,
right?
That idol's gone.
Okay, let's do the constitutions rolls for the day. Everybody's at regular besides Mr. Wentworth. Will give you a constitution at hard. Oh wow.
Uh-oh.
Ooh, ouch.
Can I use luck to not make that a fumble?
You can't get rid of fumbles, unfortunately. So everybody failed?
Yeah. I was sleeping out in the open. I don't know what your guys' excuse is.
But cocaine can be used to give you a bonus tie, so it might not be a fumble.
Hop on the train, John. But I was already on the train.
You just have a harder test whenever you get off the cocaine. And the longer you go, you pretty much guarantee yourself some sort of disaster at the end of it.
Yeah.
Sorry, you broke up a little bit there.
Off?
What happened with the fumble?
I said you could take some cocaine, which gives you a bonus tie, so it likely wouldn't be a fumble. That's your only recourse here.
Do you really think I'm not already on cocaine?
I was not assuming you were.
Sure.
I thought we had established only the thrill of the cell gets you the high you.
Yeah, I'll
That and cocaine.
I'll take the fumble.
No, okay. Dang.
We'll see what comes out of it.
All right.
Just set your tent up wrong and it got a little too chilly.
Shall come of it.
So, what is it? Can I wean myself off of the coke or does it just, it's either a yes or no thing?
We'll just treat it kind of like a Shadowrun drug in a sense, I guess, where
Okay.
once you got to pay it, you got to pay it.
You'll hit a wall and you either keep going or don't.
Because it's hard to have the degrees that a weaning would be where you would just be sort of slightly uncomfortable, but
Yeah.
not like the full withdrawal symptoms. All right. Okay, so here's what occurs for you, Mr. Thompson. Sometime in the night, you wake up with a terrific pain in your leg.
Oh, no.
So it's like terrible, like an inner fire inside your leg that you could kind of feel spreading to a certain point, like a certain degree, like slowly moving up your leg into your loins and your stomach. But give me a spot hidden when you wake up with that terrible pain, and a luck roll.
Okay.
Man,
Apparently,
dude.
this is the time
I'm
of.
going to call this game here.
Cursed.
Yeah. This is all Francesco's fault.
Yeah, because ever since then, it's just a sea of red.
Darn you, Lilith. Okay.
Francesco, go 100 paces out and hold that idol out at arm's length.
'Cause I didn't take the idol though.
He brought it upon us all.
You're already
Oh, who
cursed.
did?
Francesco,
That son of a.
he found a different one.
We're gonna have to sacrifice his cat to
Or
appease.
just him.
Oh yeah,
Okay, your movement, or with your spot failure, you don't even know what it is, but you're pretty sure something bit you. And when you kind of pull up,
It was the kid. I knew exactly what bit me.
when you pull up your, I don't know, how do you sleep in a? You got a set of pajamas, or do you kind of just strip down to your base layer
And
and
strip
go
down.
from there?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think with your desert experience, you probably actually do wear like a full, neck to ankle base layer for the night part. So you kind of you roll up one leg and you were hoping to see like a sting, like from maybe a scorpion, but you see fang and not sting. And when you cast about, you don't see any sign of the snake bite or the snake that got you probably.
It's definitely that damn idol. Snake bite.
Now this can be nothing
or everything.
or everything, and
That's-
some in between.
Best way to handle unidentified snake bites. First aid attempt.
Right.
So you just spring into action.
Yep. Amputation. That's the way.
Yeah. So with snakes or with venom injections like this, that the moment you spent waking up to look at the bite and look around, that your circulatory system had already gone like all throughout your body a bunch of different times. So a lot of the classic movie type things won't work unless basically it just checks your constitution, and the time that they will work is if you fail that constitution and you do a push roll. Then the extreme measures like amputation or sucking out venom can be applied, and they might work. We'll do it for rule of cool purposes, but first you have to do your constitution. But that's what you get with your first aid, is there's really no treatment you can do.
Jesus.
Yeah, I'll luck that one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're going to start burning it,
Yeah.
might also want to luck your spot hidden, maybe be able to go back and
I mean, if
See,
if you're
it's-
willing to, Travis,
What?
is the luck on the spot hidden?
Sure. Yeah, so you see a snake, like a striped snake with red and black and yellow patterns, which is good, but not great. It wasn't a cobra, which is almost a death sentence, but it is still likely venomous. You would need natural world to identify the snake from the side of it. Or you could rouse the camp and see if somebody knows what it is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to.
Who do you want to wake up first?
Did we have a certified
Dr. Sala.
doctor?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got some doctors.
Yeah, I'll go to them first, and then I'll try to go to one of the Arabs that's with us if that fails.
Yeah, so Dr. Sala sleeps close to the Stanton men, as he's kind of been hired on in a way by Mr. Stanton, or they have an agreement. So you make your way over to where his tent is, and it's cold, you're like just enough time to slip your feet into boots, but like the ground has a frost layer on it, and you're crunching across your way over to that camp. And you alert him, and he wakes up groggily, asking, what's the problem?
I've been snake bit.
Mr. Thompson? So yeah,
I'm once bitten, twice shy, baby.
His groggy features suddenly become alert, and he ushers you into the tent and gets a lantern going, and he starts looking at the bite.
And I'll describe in as best I can the snake.
Right. Let's see what he has knowledge of. Okay, he's like, I don't know what snakes they have here, but it didn't sound like a cobra to me. But already I can see with this redness that you might be in for a difficult ride, Mr. Thompson. What are you feeling right now?
I'm not sure what is that poison or the venom entail. I imagine maybe some swelling soon.
Yeah, there's two. There's a couple. You can break the venoms into two categories basically, but you're hoping it's one that's more of like that causes like necrosis in the long run instead of like a neurotoxin that the cobras do. So he says, well, if you're still alive within 30 minutes, then we'll know that it's the good snake. So I'm sorry, Mr. Thompson, but there's really nothing we can do but wait.
I guess just
unless you want to push the roll.
Some heroin for the pain, then. And I'll be on my way.
Like, here you go.
We can try and push the Constitution.
All right. So if you push the Constitution, he will recommend. He can try. Well, what's your choice? You want to amputate your leg?
No,
or do you want
I'd try to
attempt to milk the poison.
Yeah, try to milk
the poison out. So the basically the downside to this, if you fail the pushed roll, is that you will also poison your good doctor.
Well, he might just
failed.
Was it?
Okay. So yeah, he's. As near as you can tell, he sucks the venom out. He's sucking and spitting, and he's like, we have nothing to do but wait and see. And there's no any indication that the small cuts on his lip from dehydration are going to be enough to allow the venom to do its work on him to some degree as well.
So about that heroin.
Yes. I'll give you
I shall have a dram as well.
Let us both do heroin together.
Good man.
Nice.
Okay.
Didn't know your father and mother raised a quitter, Dr. Sala.
Okay, so that also has the runoff effect of messing up your rest for the night and giving you one level of exhaustion.
I've also got to burn that tent now.
Right. So let's see here. I have to roll for the NPCs today. Francesco.
Watch us freak out these tribesmen when I have Ibrahim start busting out tribal ways of warding off evil.
Right. Mr. Arbogast.
Nice.
Feeling quite well today, sir.
Between this damn cold and the cocaine, going to be beaten down soon.
Dang.
Apparently it transferred John's luck to
Yeah.
me.
Oh, sure. The game master gets all the successes. What a surprise.
Okay, so with that level of exhaustion for both you and Sala, you basically all skill rolls besides your characteristics, so that's, strength, dexterity, and when you're in combat, because you kind of get the adrenaline boost to take the edge off exhaustion. They all have a penalty die until you get back to being rested.
I think I might schedule a rest soon, too.
To let people catch up.
Yeah.
So, on to Friday, March 11th. About mid-morning, and an hour after you break your camp, you see on the horizon a giant reddish-brown smudge appear to the north. The two Bandars and the Yemenis in your expedition start babbling in excited Arabic. Those who don't speak it hear a word repeated often, Shamal, Shamal. Those who do understand know they are referencing the northwestern winds that blow in off the desert and can sometimes carry with them immense clouds of gypsum, quartz, and granite sand that have been known to strip the paint off walls. Whatever the plan for the day was, it must now necessarily change.
Well, looks like we'll be taking a little more of a break. Let's see.
Yeah, I mean, if you're afraid of a little sand.
But we'll stop there for the day
Oh,
with you guys, just broken up camp, and you're all looking out at this huge cloud of dust. Although dust is a misnomer because the particles are much bigger than dust. Although dust becomes a problem too. But you see it approaching from the northwest. Thanks for playing, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
And we can go ahead and do a luck refresh and skill increases. And after today's session, I'm going to reset the 10 cap.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So we still have it today, but going forward, we'll reset the 10. Congratulations.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Nice.
Roll
Look at that.
Nice.
Yeah, I shouldn't reset it for everybody but Bartholomew.
Mhm.
So I think like your fourth skill, you've gotten 10 points on.
Yeah, things have been going pretty well for this character so far.
Damn it.
This has been a Deathwatch production. Thank you for listening.